Okay, well, good morning, 8th grade class. I want to do a little bit of review today. So we're going to do 10.6 review, and then we are going to begin 10.7. We are not going to have homework because it's Easter weekend, and I want you to enjoy that time with your families. But here's a little bit of review. So in this last lesson that you watched a video, it was something like 4P2, and you guys understood this. You got it right in the homework, so that was cool. You do 4 on the top, and then you do 4 minus 2 factorial on the bottom, which is 4 factorial on the top, 2 factorial on the bottom, which is you do 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, all that divided by 2 times 1, which is that thing factorial, this thing factorial. You cancel out what cancels out, and the top is left with 4 times 3, which equals 12. So that's our final answer, right? So that's not very hard. You guys understood that. If you need to watch me do that again, I may do another one later to help show the difference, but I'm going to clear that. And this was the formula. It was NPR, and that equaled n factorial over n minus r factorial. Okay, you need to write this down because this is a very important thing for us to understand. That was in permutation. Okay, so I'm going to write that up here, permutation. And that's the total number of ways something could be done. Okay, so that was a short review on 10.6. Now I'm going to do the beginning of our, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to do the beginning of our next lesson. Okay, so let's say that we had 5p3. What I'm going to do there is it's going to be 5 factorial over 5 minus 3 factorial, which is 5 factorial over 2 factorial. So then I come over here and I write 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, all divided by 2 times 1. I cross out what's the same, and I'm left with this, 5 times 4 times 3, which is 60. Okay, so my final answer there is 60. So that's permutations. That's the total number of ways. You guys got these right when you had to write them out, okay? So that's the review. Now, for the new lesson on 10.7, what we're doing is we're using a new phrase, and it's called combinations. Okay, so instead of the total number of possibilities, this is now the combination. Okay, combinations. So this formula is a little different. It is N, so that's the same, CR. So everything looks the same as the last one, right? The last one looked like this, NPR. And you can see the difference here. The only thing that's changed is that this P, permutations, has changed into C, combinations. And what that does is it just changes the formula a little bit. So I'm going to clear that. If you need to write it down, go ahead, pause the video. So this time, the formula for NCR is, the top is the same, where it's N factorial. So it's N factorial on the top, but now is where it gets a little tricky. On the bottom, it's R factorial times N minus R factorial. So we just added a whole nother step. We've added this guy right here, R factorial. And basically what that's saying is it's going to make our answer a lot smaller because it's going to reduce the number that's left on the top. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of that so that we have some practical way to think about it. So let's say that we had something like this, 7C3. Okay, so combinations, there are 3 groups, and there are 7 total. So I write 7 factorial on the top, over 3 factorial, that's the R, you see this right here, that's that R, then times 7 minus 3 factorial. Okay, the top stays the same, and then we have now 3 factorial on the bottom, and 4 factorial on the bottom. Okay, now this is where it's a little tricky. You take the bigger one on the bottom, which is the 4 factorial. Okay, so we come up here to the 7, and I write 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2, right? The 1 really doesn't matter because times 1 is the same thing. And then I take this 4 and I go 4 times 3 times 2, and look what happens. They all cancel out, right? You see the 2's, the 3's, and the 4s, and the 1s. But we don't have to worry about that because it's multiplied times 1. Now what's left on the top is this right here. That's what we would have normally done on permutation, except for this time, look what we have left down here. We have the 3 factorial on the bottom. So now I have to then do it again, and I keep this guy the same and just bring him up here, and I go 7 times 6 times 5 divided by 3 times 2 times 1. So then I multiply across. On the bottom I get 6, and on the top I get 42 times 5, which if you're using your calculator, which I would highly suggest, you get 210. So I get 210 divided by 6. So I'm going to erase this over here so you can see what that is. What is 210 divided by 6? That is exactly 35. So I do 210 divided by 6, and I get 35. Now you see how much smaller of an answer that would have been? Instead of the answer being 210, which is what it would have been on permutations, we had an extra step that made it only 35, because we want to know the groups of 6. So how many groups of 6 did we have? We had 35 of such groups. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to reteach this lesson on Tuesday morning when you go to do your homework. Okay, so let's do another example. Let's say that we have 10. So for example, say 10 girls in the class, and 6 are selected from the volleyball team. Okay, 10 girls total, 6 for the volleyball team. So now I do the same thing where I do 10 factorial on top, and I do 6 factorial, that's R, then I do 10 minus 6 factorial. So I get 10 factorial divided by 6 factorial, and what's 10 minus 6 is 4, I get 4 factorial. Okay, now I go rewrite the top. I rewrite 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. All of that divided by the bigger one, so I'm going to choose the 6 factorial. So all that divided by 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And look what happens. They all cancel out. The 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, the 5s, and the 6s all cancel out. Okay, if you need to pause it, go ahead and draw that and pause it. I'm just going to erase it so I don't have to rewrite all this. So that's all gone because the 6 canceled it out, so I'm going to even erase the 6 from up here. He's gone. Now I take this 4 to factorial that I have left, drag it down here, and I get 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, and now I just multiply. So what's the bottom? Is 12 times 2 is 24. Now the top, I can't do it in my head because I don't know that big of numbers. So I do 10 times 9 times 8 times 7, and I get 5,040. And all of that, 5,040 divided by 24, is exactly 210. So this would have been my permutations up here, or close to the permutations, not exactly on this one, but I just divide these two numbers, and I get exactly 210, and this is my final answer. Okay, I'm going to explain that more on the video on Tuesday. But go ahead and watch this, and it'll give you a good head start. Thank you. Enjoy your Easter weekend. I hope you celebrate with your family, and remember the work that Christ has done on our behalf. Mr. H is out.